Welcome to the Human Perspective. This is another interview that we're doing during the National Council on Independent Living Week. And I'm very proud to introduce Parker Glick, who was introduced to me by another member of the Youth Caucus. And they told me, oh, you've got to interview Parker. So thank you very much for being with us today, Parker.
Thank you so much.
So I'd appreciate it if you could give us a little about your background, who you are, how you got involved in disability rights.
So, well, you guys have my name already, but I am 28 years old. I identify as a trans disabled man of color, and I was born in Korea. I was adopted at 6 months old. My disability is known as arthrogryposis, and I currently work with my statewide Independent Living Council of Georgia as their social media specialist. But I started about, my goodness, I'm old enough to say that I've been in the movement for about a decade. And it was as a youth in a youth caucus type council, and that was starting off in Florida. So from there, I slowly transitioned from one state and moved on with no one really as resources, not family really. So I kind of had to build my network just through who I've met in conferences and word of mouth, and here I am, not here in DC, but out in Atlanta, Georgia.
So how long have you identified as being a disabled person?
Well, even though I was born with my disability, and I had struggled quite a bit. I don't want to give too much detail, but growing up, I didn't really have that much pride. I wasn't exposed to like youth leadership forums or youth advisory councils to gain that mentorship, peer support. So I would say just about that decade when I started getting involved with independent living, I realized that my voice does count, and it doesn't have to be overshadowed by folks without disabilities. And so I also identify with a person with mental health disabilities. So that has been a recent diagnosis for me and discovery. And that I have a lot of pride in as well.
So you also identify as being transgender.
Yes, I do.
So I'm interested in when that became a part of your life and how you mix the different components of who you are together.
Ooh, that's a heavy question. I know. Well, I had started identifying as trans when I moved to Georgia. And that was when I was actually able to really break out of my shell. Like I mentioned, I didn't have many folks to kind of connect to as a network, so I had to build myself and discover who I was. And as things were coming out in the media with the trans population, I realized, whoa, there is a word, another label. While they're good for jars, I was like, there's another one that I could identify with. And I started to slowly come out saying, please use he, him pronouns for me. And about a few months ago, my new name is Parker. And so it all just felt so comfortable and me. And that's just how it happened. It just slowly trickled in. I guess you could say I transitioned into it.
So for people in the audience who are listening to you, if they are experiencing similar things in relationship to their sexual orientation, are there comments and thoughts that you'd like to give them about how to move forward, groups that they may want to speak with, particularly as someone who has multiple components to their life, having a disability as well as being trans?
So, a shameless plug, I'm going to say that Nickel has a committee known as the Nickel Rainbow Caucus, and we are actually compiling a toolkit to kind of get some resources so that Centers for Independent Living could be more welcoming to the LGBT and disability community. It is not a group of folks, we are not a group of folks that we are overshadowed a lot, and the feelings that you are feeling are real. They're totally valid. Everybody feels, some sort of attraction or no attraction, or different identity as they were told to feel growing up. They're totally valid, and being able to reach out to, and I'm not great with names, but like I said, please try to reach out to your centers and let them know hey, do you know of any resources? Because that'll also help the Rainbow Caucus create their importance. Like, we'll show that this is in need, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you're working in social media now, right?
Yes, I am.
Tell us a little bit more about what you're doing and how you decided you wanted to do this.
I love social media. I don't want to pat myself on the back and say I'm a bubbly human, but I do want to say that it's a great opportunity to get folks that aren't able to come to our centers or come to their offices physically to be involved still. We try to hop on the hashtags that are very active and get folks to be engaged that way. Because we know that access, transportation, housing, attendant care services, the big IL things are not accessible to everyone, but those people want to be involved. We all want to be nothing about us without us. So how can we do that? Everybody has a computer. If you don't, maybe a library. But, I try to use my personality into the words that I post up on our Facebook and share what we're involved with, and also getting our silk out there and saying these are the things that we're doing, because we get calls thinking that we work one-on-one with folks, and while we would love to, that's really the purpose of the centers, right?
So the Silk is a statewide organization that works with the Centers for Independent Living, and the Centers for Independent Living are the ones, as Parker was saying, help people with direct services. So if you're contacting the Silk, you'll learn about the centers in your state, and they work on policy also.
Right. So at the moment, I'm the only one representing our Silk, but just posting things online, getting folks involved, asking questions about how they feel about certain things is huge.
So what are some of the social media tools that you like to use most?
Well, we are on the major ones like Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, but I'm also doing some of our web design stuff too.
And you personally, separate from the job.
Oh,
what do
personally?
you use? Yeah.
Oh, well, I try to be all over the place, but you guys can get pretty bored with my selfies. So I'm on Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, and wow, that's not that many, but it does take a lot of my day, so it feels like a lot.
What does independent living mean to you?
Independent living. So I mentioned that we answer the phone calls and such, and it's...
To you personally?
To me personally, okay, I'm sorry. To me personally, it's more like a lifestyle. It's, you're gaining your identity and living with it independently, and not living with it in the negative connotation, but you're embracing it. And you're able to use your voice, your newly discovered voice, because I know from my own experience, it's something that just doesn't come as naturally as you'd like it to sometimes.
So being trans,
yes,
and having a disability,
yes,
and having an Asian background, how do you mix with all these different communities? In the trans community, for example, as a disabled person, do you feel welcomed into the community? How are you working with the community to help them understand more clearly the disability population?
I mean, I guess I can say I'm a mobile billboard because it's so important for all of us to understand that we're all working towards that same goal of equal access, equal voice, and having that, just, I'm gonna say equality again, and being able to be ourselves. And I think me being a part of different committees with my different identities, I can still bring in, let's say for example, I'm in an LGBT committee. I could still say, hey, this is going to be something that's inaccessible. How are we going to include individuals that are people of color and use mobility devices and want to be a part of our, let's say, Pride event, So I do try to use that, I guess, privilege to my advantage, to the advantage of our communities, rather. And I just try not to hesitate to make that equal for everyone.
So I'd like to thank you very much. And guess let me get in one last question. So with the social media that you're working with, how accessible do you find it for blind people, deaf people?
I'm gonna have to say that I feel like the most, and I know some folks might correct me in the comments, so please do so, but I feel like Facebook could be the most accessible that I've worked with, but that's because it gives us more options. So if we're posting up photos, we can definitely add a photo description, and I know Twitter can as well, but there are other media platforms, but Facebook Live, we can't do that so much. We
Right.
want to be able to add captions and what's going on, and that's tough. And I understand technology is ever changing, so but the most accessible would, in my opinion, be Facebook. But there's always improvements to be made, always.
Yeah, so one of the things that we're also speaking about is the importance for designers of technology, software, etc.,
Right.
to include accessibility in the design.
Yes.
Because for us, you know, we are unable, as you said, to get our pieces up immediately captioned,
Mhm.
and so we work on getting them captioned within 24 hours, but it would make it a lot easier if the software itself enabled us to have automatic captioning, where we were just going through and making minor corrections.
Mhm.
So it's been a privilege to be able to talk with you today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for listening. Again, keep for all the great work that you're doing, and we look forward to learning more about you in the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was privilege was mine. Thank you.
Thank you.